All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, an update on Big Ramy from none other than Dan Solomon, who is the president of the Mr. Olympia organization. He posted a post on Instagram where he says that he spoke to Big Ramy on the phone and he got some information pertaining to whether or not Big Ramy was going to do the 2022 Mr. Olympia. Now, obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, you guys know what's been going on with Big Ramy. He was unable to make it to the Pittsburgh Pro. The circumstances surrounding that were a bit odd. He wasn't in touch with his coach and friend, Dennis James. He wasn't in touch with Jim Mannion, who ran the show. He didn't let anybody know that he wasn't going to be there. And he was the main attraction for that Pittsburgh Pro guest posing, and he did not show up. Now, Dan says, I had a phone call today with our reigning Mr. Olympia. I've seen some of the recent videos, rumors, the various news reports. I didn't know what to expect from the conversation. We spoke about life and family, and of course, we talked about this year's Olympia. I was impressed by his intensity, his hunger, and his focus. Before we ended our call, the #1 bodybuilder on the planet paused and said, Dan, I will be ready, and I will win #3. I will show the world in December. It was nice talking to you, champ, but you better be ready. There's a lot of hungry champions who want your title. And Ramy commented on that and said, thanks, brother. So it's interesting because Ramy did put up, he was in an interview the other day, where he said his bodybuilding plan, his goal, had always been to retire by the age of 38. He's currently 37 years old. He's won 2 Mr. Olympia titles. Then with all the stuff that's been going on recently with him not showing up to these events like the Arnold and like the Pittsburgh Pro, the question is whether or not Ramy was going to continue competing. And it looks like so far, according to Ramy, at this point, he is planning on doing the 2022 Mr. Olympia. But again, I have a feeling that he's not going to be competing for very much longer after that if he does compete in this Olympia. And like Dan said in that post, there's a lot of hungry champions that are gunning for that title. You've got Nick Walker, the Arnold Classic champion. Brandon Curry, last year's Olympia runner-up. You've also got Hadi Choopan, who a lot of people think should have placed higher in previous Mr. Olympias. A lot of people think that Hadi Choopan, including myself, think that he could be a future Mr. Olympia champion. Ramy's got some people to deal with this year, and I don't think this is going to be an easy win for him by any stretch of the imagination. Now, next up in the news, we just got the official competitor list pretty early, actually, for the Arnold Classic UK. We got them for both bodybuilding and classic physique, and I want to talk about both those divisions because there's some interesting little Easter eggs in both. First, let's talk about bodybuilding. Now, I'm interested in this lineup because I think there's a chance it might change because they posted all the other lineups for all the other categories yesterday, except for men's bodybuilding. They posted it like very briefly and then deleted it before anyone, I guess, screenshotted it. But people saw it, they posted it, so they had everything else posted except for this, which they now posted today. So you've got both Andrea Musi and Andrea Presti. These guys have proven they are very, very good. Andrea Presti, of course, was runner-up at the New York Pro, and Andrea Musi was one of the top finalists at the Cali Pro. You have Shiriak Alfred, James Hollingshead finally making his return to the bodybuilding stage. I think a lot of people are going to be excited to see how James does here. Again, this isn't until September 25th. So this is a pretty early announcement considering. But James is always posting really impressive physique updates on Instagram, and we haven't really seen him since that Olympia where he kind of underperformed. I think a lot of people expected him to place a lot higher than he did, and I still think that he's going to be able to place a lot higher than he did, but this will be his opportunity to qualify. And that's the other point about this potentially changing this list because it's so close to the Olympia. Maybe after we have all these shows this summer, if there's people that still have not qualified, maybe they'll be interested in doing this show and they'll get invited as well. You've got Jamie the Giant Jahal, Jamie Christian Jahal. Lionel Bayecki, that's another interesting one. He's been saying for a few years that he's going to come back and compete, but at this point, it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf because all these times, he's never done it. We haven't seen him back on stage in several years. You've got Mark Hector, very aesthetic men's open bodybuilder. I'm excited to see him back on stage. Rob Cannon, Theo LaGuerre, who was top 4 at the New York Pro. Martin Fitzwater, Hassan Mustafa, another guy that we're really excited to see. His physique looks a lot different this year. He looks a lot leaner, a lot more shredded than usual, and a lot more ahead of schedule as he prepares for the Puerto Rico Pro and then on to the Orlando Pro. Maybe some more shows in between the Orlando show and this Arnold Classic UK. But that's going to be interesting. And then Joseph Kvetin. Now, let's look at classic physique because there's some things that were interesting in this one. So a lot of these names I don't recognize, but I'm going to read through them very quickly and probably very brutally when it comes to pronunciations. Abdullah Arabia, I Am Alwas, Barika Angel, Craig Morton, Darren Farrell, Gennady Layev, Jose Maria Mete Buri Buri, Kuba Keeling, Laszlo Karali, Marco Ruiz, Michael DeBull, Neil Curry, Peter Molnar back in this lineup, Shane Collins, Shantae Mitchell, and of course the thing that interested me most was the return of Wesley Vissers. This is the first show that Wesley has done in a long time. And this is going to be, I believe this is his comeback show. I don't think he's doing any other shows before this. To the best of my knowledge, this is his return to the classic physique stage and his return to attempting to get an Olympia qualification. And then beyond Wesley, you have Zagarella Christian and Abdullah Al-Sarafi. So it looks like there's a little bit of excitement in both of those lineups, and it looks like we're going to have something interesting to watch in September in the UK. Now, next up in the news, Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, Joseph Baena, following in his father's footsteps in more ways than one. This time, not just working out, not just bodybuilding, but he's acting. He's going to be in a movie in the fall, and it's going to be called Called to Duty, The Last Air Show. And if you flip through some of the photos, it looks like he's playing a pretty physique-heavy role. So in a lot of cases, I would assume that people don't want to be typecast as a certain type of actor, like the buff guy in the movie. But I guess when you're Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, that's probably a good thing to be typecast as because it means you're doing something right. But still, even more so than his acting, I really want to see him follow in his father's footsteps in the regard of actually competing. I know that he intends on doing a natural bodybuilding show at some point. I'm really curious to see how he looks on stage, just to compare some of the old stage shots of Arnold, where he was potentially natural, even though he wasn't natural at the age that Joseph's at. But it'd just be cool to see how similar their physiques really look in contest condition. But it looks like he is successfully pursuing the acting thing just like his dad. So shout out to Joseph Baena, and I hope that movie is a blockbuster. And of course, the final story that I have for you guys today. Today is Friday, which means we're just a day away from the Toronto Pro Super Show this weekend, which is the next Olympia qualifying show on the menu for men's open bodybuilding. You guys have seen the lineup, and now I'm going to give my pick to win that show. I think you can't really argue with the fact that Mohammed Shabaan, Mo Shabaan, is the favorite to win. He was just runner-up, a close runner-up to Charles Griffin at the California Pro. He's got a ton of size. He looks like he's definitely made some improvements since the last time that we saw him on stage. I think the main thing was his conditioning could have been a little bit tighter, but he did look really good in Cali. And what I'm assuming he's going to do here is if he tightens up for this show, looks even better than Cali, based on what we saw from this lineup, I don't think anybody is going to beat him. I think he's going to punch his ticket to the Olympia at this show. And I think he looked extremely impressive, as you can see in this video here. This is from prejudging at the Cali Pro. And I think he gave Charles a run for his money that maybe Charles wasn't expecting. I don't think he was the guy that Charles was expecting to push him. And I'll show you guys that list one more time so you guys can give your predictions in the comments down below. You got Slavoj Bednar, Dorian Haywood, Theo Laguerrier, Andrea Muzi, Joe Seaman, Mohammed Shabaan, and of course Mariusz Tomzakuk. So I think probably it's going to be between Theo Laguerrier and Mohammed Shabaan, even though, again, they still have his name spelled wrong on there. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Could it go a different way? Not a whole lot of competitors, not a very deep lineup, not a show that it looks like a whole lot of people are interested in doing. But I think overall it's going to shake out in Mohammed's favor. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet already. Click that bell notification icon if you have not. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.